Good morning, friends. Thanks for joining this morning. This is Journey Home Meditation. I am Michael. Today we're going to be doing a little shared breathing, some contemplation, and whatever else we get into. I'm very happy to be here today. All right, friends. It is such a rare thing for me to actually be able to be here with the time frame needed to join you this morning, any morning. And yeah, I think that there are definitely ways that I recognize that I would really like to be back here daily. I would really like to be able to shift my relationship to this shared practice, to be able to make it here in the mornings with enough time to sit and, well, even then, just when I started to say it, sit and just open with others. I felt an opening in my chest. That's so amazing, the way that this whole game works. Right? This whole thing, it works in this really beautiful and compelling way. Uh, yeah, I can't really describe um, how often it is that I want to remark on something as being particularly strange or weird, and then recognize, nope, that's just the way it's built. That's just the way it's built. This is how it all actually works. uh, it's only weird when we have been removed from recognizing the interconnectedness of the way that my body and my mind and my breath and all of these things can actually function together. And if I have been living in such a way that I have compartmentalized those things, right? Compartmentalized my thoughts and my feelings, my emotions, the way that my physical body feels, um, then I can be astounded, in a way, when it all functions together. But when I really am doing my practice of releasing what I am thinking to be true and recognizing what is true for me in this moment, then I recognize it's really not that weird. It's not that strange. Um, and I think that's part of what is inspiring what I wanted to work with this morning. I was thinking about it, uh, because I do a lot of my personal work as an afterthought. And what I mean by that is, there's this thing of anxiety where I know a lot of people that have shared they experience this, where we will replay something in our head over and over again and use that replay to judge ourselves, right? Judge our actions, our behaviors, judge the way that we must believe the world must be judging us. And this is something that I've done since I was young. Of course, there's going to be people that will say, well, that's a trauma response. Yeah, well, probably. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Uh, it seems that when you have trauma, everything becomes a response to that in a way. because we are shifting the way we are made up, right? We are shifting the way that we thought the world was going to be. So we developed these coping mechanisms, and then something happens that overwhelms those coping mechanisms, and that causes us to shift. So, yes, I will agree. Even at the risk of using pop psychology and uh, the somewhat overused at this point understanding of trauma. It's funny how something can be overused and misunderstood at the same time. Um, but I'm not saying it's misunderstood for the people that are using it, because that's how their understanding of it is. So I don't know any better than anyone else about how trauma affects your body, but it seems to me that um, when we have something like an idea that all of a sudden starts being used as the fix. This is the thing that's going to fix us. This is really common in pop psychology, right? This is kind of the basis for snake oil salesmen and all these things. Then the fix becomes the most important thing, and we get a little lost, culturally speaking, when it comes to actually understanding the minutia of the way that these things move, the way that these things such as trauma is a good example, because it's really popular for people to talk about trauma, um, but we can lose some of the nuance that's there, right? When we start applying broad blanket statements over everybody's experience. But at any rate, that's not what was inspiring me to get here early enough this morning to share with you. What was inspiring me was the original thought that I was having in this sharing, is that the afterthought is the way in to understanding. And so when I'm laying there in bed, all right, before I had a regular practice of loving introspection, this practice of kindness and compassion, that I can go inward and say, okay, this is what must have been or could have been motivating my behaviors and my decisions, and recognizing, oh, you know what? I don't know if that was necessarily the healthiest thing for me. I don't know if that was the healthiest behavior for me to have towards another. I don't know if that was exactly communicating what I was feeling at the time. And that level of compassionate introspection allows me to not have this harsh judgment of myself. Well, I'm a lost cause, I'm a piece of crap, whatever. It allows me to actually understand, okay, then this is what I was actually needing in the moment. And now I can provide that for myself in a way. I can provide myself with the emotional component that was missing for me, that allowed me to move into a behavior that was abhorrent, or a behavior that was not actually beneficial to get me the thing that I needed. And that also allows me then to have that same sort of loving, compassionate assessment of another person's behavior. But what I was starting to understand this morning was that what what it might be about the feelings that we carry over of resentment, the feelings of non forgiveness, the feelings that we carry in our bodies of a holdover of anger or fear or judgment. Um, these are happening because possibly the heart has not finished its work. Um, and I want to preface this by saying this is not a blanket prescription for what you may be experiencing, but if there is something that you can connect to here, then awesome. That's the whole purpose of the morning sit, is for us to come together and connect. Um, and I would love your input. So if you'd like to reach out to me, you can get a hold of me in many number of ways, but emailing me at journeyhomemeditation@gmail.com is a good way. Okay, back to the idea. Uh, the unfinished heart will be left with this place of feeling um, this anticipation of when it will get its opportunity to do its work, right? The holdover of the feeling of resentment, the feeling of anger, the feeling of fear, the feeling of pain. That means that our mind may have come to a conclusion, but our heart has not been on board with it. Our heart has not been able to do what it needs to do to resolve, because the heart doesn't justify the way that the mind does. The heart doesn't gather evidence the way that thoughts do. The mind, it uses thoughts and it uses all of these different things that we see, and we compound all these things and we create evidence that leads us into belief. I think that's pretty easy to understand. I think um, when I see A, B, and C, I can conclude D. This is the way our thinking mind works. But the heart does not perform that way. The heart, the way the heart has to perform is it has to come into a level of acceptance and healing in a different way. So when the heart is hurt, when there's something that happens to us and we are emotionally hurt and we haven't had the opportunity to soothe, to be reassured that that we are okay, that we are safe, we haven't had the opportunity to even be open to accepting another person in that conflict or in that conflagration, whatever it was, then we hold on to in the pit of our chest or in our stomach, somewhere in this area in our body, you'll find that you have this kind of tightness occasionally. At least I do. Maybe you don't, but I have this tightness when I think about these unhealed relationships, these moments of embitterness. Um, and I think that this is where we learn to close our heart off. I think this is where we learn to protect ourselves by dissociating from that feeling, because that feeling is a constant reminder, hey, you've got more work to do. You haven't resolved. You haven't truly apologized, or you haven't truly forgiven, or you haven't truly been made to feel safe, or you haven't truly deeply been able to let go of your attachment to the outcome. Something happened that's still burning inside of you. It's still tied into a tight knot, right? And we find pretexts to argue about. Well, it's if that person didn't do this, then and then we start justifying in our mind our anger, our resentment, our bitterness, or our fear. But our heart's not listening to those thoughts. And let me know if this is coming through. Let me know if I'm losing you at any point. Maybe I already lost some of you. I don't know. But this is where my mind has been focusing on this place within me that says, hey, yeah, you've come to conclusions in your mind, but your heart's not there yet. You aren't letting it really in, or you're not letting it completely out. Um, and so then we build a limp, an emotional limp, right? We have this injury, this wounding that we spend the rest of our lives dissociating from and trying to work around. We find workarounds, and we don't recognize the deep pain in our heart that we carry until it starts to affect us. It starts to affect the way that we breathe. It starts to affect the way that we digest. It starts to affect the way that we sleep. It starts to affect the way that we love moving forward, because we've got an injury there, right? So when something comes up that exacerbates that pain, it re-wounds us. We become sensitive to things that others are not seeing present, because we are highly engaged in the process of a wound. And when you're wounded, you're much more sensitive, right? Like, for instance, when you have a sunburn, stepping into the sun, it hurts. You are far more sensitive because of your wound, because of the injury, than you would be if you were not. And this happens in our heart, this happens in our emotional body. This happens in that place inside of us that when we start touching into a wound, we can become far more sensitive to start feeling the pain from that wound, especially if we are very well practiced in dissociating from that feeling. We are very protected, very defensive. And now the body starts to scream, right? It goes from whispering to screaming. We're really hurting. And then the mind, which is just another aspect of this same body. It's not a different thing. It's not a compartmentalizing thing. The mind starts to work overload because it wants to fix the problem, right? So the mind has this fix it energy, whereas the heart has this need to process and feel and take its time. And the mind will come in with these strong defense mechanisms. And the time that it becomes unpracticed for us when we start believing the thoughts and ignoring the heart. Right? When we believe the mind, we believe the thoughts and ignore the heart, it does nothing to help us process the pain that we're experiencing. Nothing. We can justify the pain, but it doesn't remove it. We can rationalize the behavior, but it doesn't shift us. We we will definitely be participating in protecting ourselves in a way, but that protection only comes at the cost of the loss of being able to be vulnerable and connect with our love for the world. It gets wrapped up into a personality. It gets wrapped up into a singular experience. It gets wrapped up into one person. So now our ability to deeply love openly is dependent upon one thing, one person. And that's the linchpin for us, right? That's where it's at. And so I was thinking about that this morning, about the ways in which I might hold resentments towards myself, especially, but resentments towards others. And I've found that because of my well rehearsed feelings of self deprecation and low self worth that I've practiced since childhood, I have found that it becomes a matter of being able to utilize these practices with somebody else first so that it can open the doorway for me to bring those practices home. Um, and it's the ability for us to practice that is going to allow us the fluency with it, right? The fluidity and the comfort with being able to do this thing. When you look at somebody who's studying dance or martial arts, they do the same movements over and over and over until it becomes mindless. See, we this is the whole thing, is not that we are punishing the mind or we are running away from the mind, but the mind has become such a powerful tool in our lives that we have to find our way through it to not get stuck in it. And this is the whole practice of this meditation practice that I personally carry and that I share. It is not to punish or demonize or villainize thoughts or the mind. It is to simply find my balance again, where my heart is is leading my way forward, because this is where I carry my pain. This is where I carry my grieving. This is where I carry my sense of rejection. This is where I carry my resentment, my anger, my fear of abandonment. This is where the feeling comes up for me, the physical feeling. When these feelings start to arise, the emotions start to arise because of an experience. Somebody will do something, and that will, the word we use is trigger, that will trigger me into a certain way of feeling about my life, right? So when I can understand that this is where I carry it, then this is not where it's going to be fixed. My thoughts are never going to fix or resolve my emotional experiences. Now, it doesn't mean they can't work together, because they can. And when they do, this is what I was talking about in the beginning. We find that we're going, wow, this is really weird. Like everything seems to be flowing, everything seems to be serendipitous, everything seems to be working together. The universe, man. Yeah, trip out. But that's only because we have found or discovered a moment in our experience where we are flowing together, thought, body, mind, spirit, energy, experience, where all of a sudden it's not about the past, it's about our history. The history is what we carry forward, right? The past is the thing that's behind us. We are made of history, right? So we have to work with it. We can't live in it, but we have to work with it. So we have to find where that feeling is inside of us and let the heart finish its work. And that's what I got today. If you are interested in having this conversation more, please, by all means, reach out to me. I would love to have this conversation. And in fact, I would like to open up Journey Home Meditation to be able to be more of a conversational um, morning program. Soon we will be moving to a live room format where once we get the Beside, which is the new uh, location that we're opening, we're expanding Journey Home, and we're opening a new building called Beside, um, where we can walk beside one another, and that will have a meditation hall. And within the meditation hall, we'll be doing these morning sits with an open community forum. So if you live in the Southern Oregon area, or if you're traveling through, you can check journeyhome.care, www.journeyhome.care, and that schedule when the Beside opens uh, will be there. Um, okay, so let's just take a few moments to allow for that silence to enter into us. The practice is a devotional practice to breath. And once we can devote ourselves to the breath, then we can invite in stillness and silence. It's really amazing how it all will flow together. I found that's the way that works for me. So moving into our meditation posture, this is the place that we hold our body and where we find balance. And being that this is a devotional practice to breath, we want to find balance in our body in a way that opens us up to receive and to release. So, elongating the spine, gently closing the eyes if you're in a place to do that, or leaving them open with a soft gaze. Breathing in through the nose to the bottom of the belly, gentle breath. Breathing in and releasing. Breathing in and releasing. Breathing in. Once you start to feel that you're finding your way into that inner realm of experience, and you are following the breath, releasing the tension and getting rid of any blocks that may be blocking the smooth subtleness of the breath. Relaxing the shoulders, bringing the shoulder blades together just slightly in the back. Feet flat to the floor, legs crossed in any number of ways. Wherever you are right now, find your way in. And then just bring a half smile to the face. Just let your lips purse in that Buddha smile. Breathe in and out. Hmm. It's always a wonder to me. Sorry that I keep going back to this. I guess I'm not sorry. That's that's an automatic response. It's always a wonder to me, how just bringing that smile, that small, gentle half smile to my face, and breathing in and out in that space of openness and vulnerability. It floods me with joy, like so much so that it brings me into tears, and uh, it's a full body experience. Wow, it's something that I haven't experienced uh, before in that way, and other than in this practice. But it reminds me of the feeling that you have when you just could not stop laughing. You have a friend or a few friends, and you just are laughing to the point where it hurts, and you're crying, and you just can't stop. That feeling afterwards, that's the feeling that floods my body um, in that moment. Uh, Doesn't mean I'm not carrying sadness, because I am. It doesn't mean that I'm not carrying anger or resentment or bitterness, because it's all there. But it's something about opening us up in that vulnerable way and then inviting in that joy. It's such a wisdom that has been passed down to us. And we see these statues and these drawings and these teachings from thousands of years ago, and they've been translated through different languages, different cultural languages, uh, different time periods, different cultural understandings, all these translations. But when you look at the image and you see that half smile, you got to wonder, what is being taught here? What is this Buddha teaching me about me? And then you try it, and it's there you are. And here we are. So thanks for being here this morning. Uh, Hopefully, I'll see you again before too long. And I think that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.